Hello and welcome to TechBytes.io. In this episode, we are going to write a best of 5 hands blackjack game. We will accomplish this by expanding on the code that we wrote for a command line blackjack game in a previous episode. If you haven't seen that episode, you can get there from here or in the link in the comments below. So the command line game we are going to create in this episode will be the famous casino game Blackjack or 21, where you and the dealer are dealt cards and compete against each other for the higher scoring hand without going over the individual score of 21. However, this game consists of 5 hands. The player with the best out of 5 hands wins. So let's start coding. So to get started, if you don't already have the blackjack.py game code on your system from following along in a previous episode, you can get it by going here to the TechBytes.io GitHub repository. You can find that here in github.com/techbytes.io, and if you go to Python command line, you can see that it is right here in blackjack.py. Once you open that up, you can either clone the entire repository, or if you just want to pull down the blackjack.py code, you can copy this, or best way to do is hit raw, hit Control A, Control C, copy that all, and then take it to your X editor and Control V, paste it in there. So if you don't already have it available, the link to the TechBytes.io GitHub repository is down below, or you can simply search GitHub for TechBytes.io. So here you can see I already have the blackjack.py code in my text editor, and it is the same game that we wrote earlier. In fact, it's the same code. So as a reminder, let's quickly see what it is that it does. So if we type in Python and blackjack.py, here we can see the game in action. So the dealer has X, the cards you cannot see, and a 6, and you have a 3 and a 3. Which do you want to do? Do you want to stay, or do you want to hit? So we're going to hit so that we get a higher score than 6. Now it says you have a total of 13. Now we have a 3, and a 7. What do you want to do? So I'll hit again, and I busted, so the dealer won. So I busted with a 22, and the dealer beat us. So that's the extent of the game. So what we want to have happen is that's just one hand. We want to do 5 hands, so we want this thing to start back over. We don't want to be kicked out every single time that we play one hand. So this is going to, like I said, this is going to be a best of 5, so we're going to play this hand, and then it will count for, that will be a 1, right? So if we don't want to go over 5 games, we don't want to have 6 games, we just want to iterate through the game. So let's start some planning and some thoughts on this. So now that we have a general overview, let's figure out how to plan this. So I've already put some notes in here, so I'm going to put the notes into our code base here. So we can see we are wanting to create a best of 5 hands, right? Best of 5 hands in the blackjack game. The basic rules, we've already seen that. Highest score up to or equal 21 wins. And if you go over 21, then you lose. So what do we need to do? We need to add a new scoring system for each player and dealer based on the number of games. So we were going to probably start the player and the dealer out both with 0. So and every time they win a hand, we'll iterate by 1. And then we need to measure the gameplay. So if this is going to be a best of 5, now it could be a best of whatever number you want to put in there. Let's say a best of 5. One, we need to put text prompts in so that people know, the players of the game know what is going on, so that they can follow the rules and also be informed of what the transactions are, what's happening in the game. So that we will start out by adding play the best of 5. We're going to add the total number of games and create a method to compare these number of games. So if we're not going over 5, we want to be able to, we'll start with 0, and we'll iterate over that as well with a 1, a 2, and a 3, moving our way up to 5. But we got to be able to compare that number to the number 5. And if the player has played all 5 hands, then we want to add a game over message. And if they haven't played all 5 hands, we need to deal the next hand. So these are the general rules, or the planning of what we need to have happen and what we want to do to make this game work. Time to add the code. So first, I think I'm going to save this under a different file name. So we're going to change this to save as, so I don't end up creating let's change this to best-of5.py. That way we don't end up with rewriting over the blackjack.py game. Alright, so now we have changed it to best-of5.py, and as you can see, it was a command line game for blackjack. And we'll do this with 5 hands. Alright. So, down here, the first thing is we need to add a new scoring system. So let's think of some variables that we're going to add. We'll go down here below these ones and we'll add some variables. We'll have total games, right, equals 0. Let's get some space just so we can remember. So we have total games equals 0. So we know that we're going to start with 0 and we're going to work our way up to 5. Then we need the hands, I guess, per person, per dealer, and player. So we'll just call that player score. And we'll make that one equal to 0. And we'll say dealer score. And we'll equal that one to 0. So now we have 3 new variables: total games, which is the total number of hands. Let's change that. Total hands. Total hands. All right. Total hands. Player score for hands won by the player, and dealer score for hands won by the dealer. Now we have to. So let's think of these. So total hands. Remember, that means we have to iterate over this in the entire game. Now, it's not a lot of code, but there's a bunch, we have to iterate through all of this. And then, but every time that a player wins, they've got to get a +1 added to their score. And every time the dealer wins, they need a +1 added to their score. So let's think about this. Let's start with the player. So we'll talk about the player score first. So let's find every place in here that the player wins and iterate and increase that 0 by 1, increase their score by 1. So let's see, find the player, let's see, print you win. All right, so here we have, if the sum of dealer cards is greater than the sum of player cards, then that means that the player wins. So we're going to write player score. We're going to go plus equals 1. So that way we increase by 1. Down here we have the player winning again. So we're going to say player score. We're going to say plus equals 1. So we win if we get 21 automatically. We win if our score is higher. Is there any other places where the player wins? Alright, I don't think so. Alright, so now let's talk about the dealer. We got the same thing here. We need to iterate over that. So we need to add the dealer. We need the dealer to increase by 1 each time. So if sum of the dealer cards equals 21, we need to have dealer score plus equal 1. And actually, look right here. See, the dealer loses. We need the player to win here. Their score to go up by 1 as well. So here, all right. So if the dealer loses, then the player goes up by 1. If the dealer wins, then the dealer score goes up by 1. So let's look at some other place where the dealer wins. There's the dealer. Dealer wins right there. So before they print the message, let's iterate over the dealer score. Plus equals 1. So we're going to add 1 to it. And down here, where the player loses, we're going to have the dealer increase by 1 as well. Alright, so we'll save that. Alright, so now we have taken care of the player score, and we've taken care of the dealer score. So what we haven't done yet is get through this entire thing. So to do that, I'm going to put this all in a function. So we're going to add a space here. We're going to say def play game and create a function. And then we are going to grab all of this and we're going to indent it. We can skip over the planning from the last one. And we will, oops. All right, there we go. We're in here. All right, we'll save that. Now we've got our 3 variables. We've iterated over the dealer score, the player score. Let's start by adding some text now under the play game so that people know so that the people that are playing know what's going on. So we're going to say we use the print function. We'll say welcome to best of 5. Oops. Blackjack. How about that? Best of 5 Blackjack. And so that'll be the first message that comes up. And then let's say let's play. Or how about this? Let's play best out of 5 hands. And let's play best out. We're going to best of 5 Blackjack. Let's play the best out of 5 hands. Play the best out of 5 hands. All right. So that will be the first messages that come up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these variables and we're going to put them underneath so that they are taking them and putting them inside the function, inside our play game function. And we will make sure the indentation is correct. And now we need to put in, so we got our total hands, we got our player score, we have our dealer score. We deal the cards, but what do we have to do before we deal the cards is we have to count how many hands we have. So this is where our total hands variable is going to come in play. We're going to use a while loop. And we're going to say total hands, while total hands, and we're going to say less than 5, right? Because we said it was going to be 5 hands. And to put this in, so that now we're going to highlight all this again, and we're going to move it over because this is now inside this while loop. So we have our play game function, which is the entire thing, and then once the play game function is called, it's going to print welcome to the best of 5. It's going to give us these messages. It's going to set the basic variables that we have here to 0, and then it's going to bring our total hand. It's going to move down to measure our total hands variable, which at the beginning will be 0, which is less than 5, and if it is less than 5, then it's going to go ahead and deal the cards. But what is out of place? Right here. Now our dealer cards and our player cards are out of place, so we're going to cut those out, and we're going to put these under here so that they're inside our while loop, because if we do not, it will not, we need this to be equal to 0. It needs to be cleaned out every time it runs through. If we had left these outside as global variables outside of our play game function, then once it was filled in, once these dealer cards received their random numbers and filled in their slots, then it would not, they would not be empty. They would be filled up, and we wouldn't be able to use them in our for the next iteration of the hand, or the next iteration of the game. So we need to put those in here so that every time it restarts, it clears the list so that they're empty. All right. So let's add a message to this as well, though. Let's say print, and we're going to say game. Make sure we have a space here. Oh, let's capitalize that. Game. And we'll say plus. And we're going to let people know how many games in they are. So total hands, and we're going to add 1 to that. Why? Because we don't want it to say hand. Let's change this from game and change it to hand. Hand. We don't want it to say hand 0 because there's no hand 0. Once you start, that's hand 1, right? So we're going to add 1 to that. And then we will add a period for the end of that little sentence there. And we'll say dealing the cards so that the players know what is happening. All right. So now, is everything closed and good? Everything looks good. So now it's going to tell us the number of hands that we're currently on. So hand 1, once we start it, dealing cards. And it's going to deal our cards. All right. So now we play the hand. We go all the way through the hand just like normal. And now this is the end of all of our code here. So what do we need to have happen next? We should let people know what's going on. So we need to inform the player as to the status of the game. So we'll do that with another print statement. And we'll say current best of 5 hands. And we'll put a colon and a space there. And then we'll do another message, and we'll give each score. So we'll start with the dealer. We'll say the dealer, put a space so that you don't have things run into each other. And we'll put string dealer score. And we will add a plus to that to let them know hands. So they'll tell them how many hands they've won. And then put a versus, so 2. And now we'll to you, the player. And we'll put a space there. And then we'll add in the string of the player score. Turn that variable into a string. And so there we go. So that should tell us hand versus hand, the comparison. Oops, didn't want to do that. All right. Now, we're going to put something in here to make it a little more legible, or let's say, put a whole bunch of lines. We'll say best of 5, and this is just to give us a little break in the command line so that we can see between the hands, because if not, it's just going to be a whole bunch of text after each other. So, and then we want to iterate over the game. So the important part here is we're going to say total hands, and we're going to do a plus equals 1 there. So now that will take us through. So we start the game, and it will give us our message telling us what we're doing. Then it will compare the total number of hands that have taken place so far in the game, and it'll compare it against 5, which is our number. We said we're going to do a best of 5, and then it will let us know how many hands we are currently on. So when we start, it should be at 1. It's telling us it's dealing the cards, and then we're going to play the hand. We're going to go through the hand, and whoever wins will raise their score by 1. And then when it completes, we're going to let the player know the status of the game by telling us the current best of 5 hands, and it will tell us the dealer how many hands they have won versus the player and how many hands they've won. And then it iterates and adds onto the hand. It adds the hand onto the game. All right. So we're missing one last thing, and that is we need to call the function. So I think we called it play game. So let's try this out. Hit Control Save. And let's run this in our command line and see what we've got. Alright, so we'll reset this, and we're going to do an ls, and where we have best of 5, there it is. So we're going to say Python best of 5. There we go. Welcome to the best of 5 Blackjack. Let's play the best out of 5 hands. Hand 1, dealing the cards. Dealer has X and 7, 10, and 8. So I'm going to stay. And dealer has 10. I win. Current best of hands. Dealer has 0. I have 1. Alright, look at that. So hand 2, dealing the cards. Dealer has X and 8, and I have 14. So let's hit. You now have a total of 20. Oh, look at that. So we got Blackjack and won that one. Best out of 5. Now I have 2 hands. So far, we're winning. All right. 9 and a 7. Let's stay and win again. All right. 7 and 10. So I'm going to hit because we've won every single time, and I'm going to show that if we lose. All right. 19. We're going to hit again. All right, busted. There we go. So now the dealer has won 1, and we've won 3. And here we are. We're going to hit again, and we're going to hit again, and we're going to hit again. And there we go. Made it through the entire thing. And I lost again, but see, the dealer has won 2, and we've won 3. So we won. Thanks for joining me this episode, and congrats on completing your new Best of 5 Blackjack game. This episode came from the comments of the original Blackjack game. If you'd like to see more, you can join me by subscribing. If you have any ideas for development or need help, you can certainly add to the comments. You can also stay in touch with any coding or technological happenings on our TechBytes.io blog, which can be found at techbytes.io. Keep on coding, and look forward to seeing you more in the future.